Hello friends, today I'm going to take a look at an awesome figure from Neca that came out a little while ago. It's Crash Bandicoot! So Crash Bandicoot's sculpt is pretty amazing. I mean, it's Neca, so what did you expect? There's details everywhere. I mean, first thing you're going to notice is this fur detail on the chest. It's really amazing. I also just really like the detail on the fur and his hair, the hair fur. Like, I love how it like wisps to one side here and is kind of spiky back there, and it goes all the way back, and the color on it looks pretty good too. And the detail with the fur just continues on the back. It's just so immaculate. So such a good sculpt all around. And then get to the gloves. Now the gloves are cool because they look like leather. I mean, it's all plastic obviously, but it looks like leather. Everything looks how it's supposed to. These leather shoes look like leather shoes. The leather gloves look like real leather gloves. The fur has the texture and look of real fur. And the fingers have the texture and the feel of Cheetos. If I have any kind of complaint, it's the shorts. They look like plastic. Which, I mean, that's kind of what you expect. But, I mean, everything else looks like real fur. And the sculpt is pretty perfect. So, I don't know why this is so plain. Like, look at the drawstring on his trunks. Like, that's got the texture of string. But the shorts don't have the texture of, like, swim trunks, I guess? I mean, swim trunks are kind of smooth, but, like, this does not look like cloth or fabric of any kind. It just looks like plastic. But, I mean, that's a really minor complaint. Everything on this sculpt is pretty perfect. The paint, however, is a little different. So, I mean, you can tell right away, Crash comes in 2 shades of orange, and their transition is just not good. It's really jarring. Like, the transition's not so bad on the arms, for example. I really like how it goes to the yellow. I mean, because that's his design, that's how it's supposed to be. But when it goes from dark orange to bright orange, especially on the top of the nose, I really don't like that. But I guess that's a choice Neca made, and you can kind of see how it is on the back. I mean, if it was supposed to transition smoothly, it doesn't really do that. But it's a style choice Neca did. That's how it's supposed to be. And for the most part, it's clean. I can't really complain about the paint otherwise. Like, let's look at the eyes. The eyes are crazy. They have these little gaps in the decals, which I guess are supposed to be shiny points of light reflecting. Although this one's like straight up and this one's kind of off to one side. So why are the reflections coming from different angles? Doesn't make a lot of sense. But otherwise, the paint's pretty perfect. I mean, he's got the yellow on the chest and the stomach, and he's got a little bit of orange dabbed in the belly button to sort of bring it out. He's got very clean paint on the gloves. I mean, I'd almost think they're like a separate piece, but they're not. They're just really clean and really good different texture somehow than the rest of the hands. It's really amazing the job they did. Paint on the shoes, perfect. I mean, I don't see any slop here. It's Neca, so it's quality. It's what you expect, right? What you don't always expect with Neca, though, is high-quality articulation. Thankfully, though, Crash has it in abundance. There's not a lot of complaints with his articulation, really. He has a ball-joint head that gets pretty good range, even goes side to side some, and it can sort of go left and right, but you can't go 360 because, I mean, like, look at this part that juts down in the back and the front, so it kind of bumps the arms on the way there. But, I mean, you don't really want him to look backwards. Actually, maybe you do, because he spins around all the time. He's a pretty crazy character. He's got hinge and swivel shoulders. He can go all the way around. They can go out above 90 degrees, so that's great. Hinge and swivel elbows. They make it to about 90 degrees, and they swivel, of course. And then, thankfully, Neca doesn't always do this. He's got hinge and swivel wrists. Now, if I had a complaint, it's like, it's kind of a pale orange when it should match this dark orange here. Like, why isn't the hinge just like the same color as this? I mean, you can see it on this hand too, like how it starts off dark orange and then I guess like there's paint rubbed in there that's making it pale. Like, why not just make the peg a similar dark orange to this? But whatever. He has a diaphragm joint and no swivel at the waist, surprisingly, although his waist is super tiny. It's like, you know, it's like as thick as a finger, so I understand why they didn't do that. He has these ball joint hips that don't really get any range. There's no hinge in there. That's kind of a problem, but it's also not a problem because his hips are so tiny. Like, and he's so top heavy, like he can't really get into poses where he's bending his legs. So, I mean, because he's so top heavy, I think this is kind of a sacrifice for stability. But it doesn't sacrifice too much because then you get, if I can bend it, it's a little hard to bend with the trunks. He's got a hinge and swivel knee in there. It swivels round. It's not going to get 90 degrees, but it can kind of get there with the help of the foot joint, which is a ball joint on there, and it swivels also. And then he also swivels at the top of the boot, but I mean, you're never really gonna do that because the knee swivels and the shoe swivels down here, so it's like, it's kind of superfluous, I guess, but his articulation's really good. And then he's got one more thing, articulated eyebrows. What's cool about these is these are on double ball joints, which means you can just pop them off and you can switch them. All right, I'm gonna switch them back now. So here is Crash Bandicoot's packaging. It's pretty straightforward. It just says Crash Bandicoot up there. It's got a render of the character here. Nothing really on the sides or the top. And on the bottom, there's the credits. I guess action figures have credits. Randy Falk, he's the guy who does Neca's stuff at San Diego Comic-Con. He's a cool guy. On the back, we get a picture of the figure and just this sort of jungle background that we also see in the front. Anyways, let's cut this guy open. Now you can get a better look at that jungle background inside the packaging, and strangely, I didn't expect this, inside there's some more packaging. Well, it's actually just like a cardboard box, which we'll talk about when we get to accessories. In the tray part, Crash just slides on out, and thankfully, he's only got one twist tie. So we'll just undo that really quick. And that's it for twist ties, but he's not quite free because he's got these things that keep his feet sort of in the packaging, and you gotta kind of, I'd guess, just rip them out. So now Crash is free. Thankfully, there was only one twist tie, and there's these plastic things on his eyebrows because he's got to protect the eyebrows. But good job, Neca. Only one twist tie. Not bad at all. Awesome packaging. So Crash gets one accessory. It's this cardboard box. Not the cardboard box he came in. That was plastic. This is a wood crate. I mean, it's cardboard, but it's supposed to be a wood crate. Anyways, let's see if we can put it together. You just fold it out and get a square, and then here's the top. And let's see how I can stick this thing together. All done. No tape needed. So Crash can't break that crate, obviously. I mean, it's pretty thick paper. High quality paper, but I don't really like accessories made of paper, Neca. But, you know, at least Crash can stand on it, so it makes a decent base, and it's pretty decent size next to him, too. And speaking of size, Crash stands at about 6 inches tall, going to the top of his hair there. Here's what he looks like next to some 6-inch superhero figures. And no Crash Bandicoot review of any kind would be complete without a mention of these guys, the mascots of gaming, and Crash isn't really part of them anymore. But, you know, back in 1995, these three guys were a big thing. So Crash Bandicoot's ultimately a very good figure. Neca always does quality work. If I was going to say watch out for anything, it'd be like how sharply the paint transitions on the top of his face. Like, I mean, you can even see it right here, the dark rings around his eyes, and then boop, suddenly he's peachy colored like it's... I wish the transition were a little more gradual, because I don't really notice it being like that sharp a transition in the games, but I mean, what do I know? I play mostly Mario. And that's mostly why I got this guy, because he's an icon of gaming, and he's popping it, but GameStop's everywhere, so I say go out and get him, friends. Neca's also going to release like a scuba tank, a jetpack, and skateboard crash, all kinds of weird Crash variants that, frankly, I'm not too interested in, because this is a plain Crash, and he's definitely good enough. So, like I said, go out and get him, and until next time, peace out, YouTube.